In the final months of 2026, the global economy was once again faced with a familiar question. Can tensions in the Middle East really affect global trade? As tensions between the United States and Iran began rising again, markets quickly focused on one specific place: the Strait of Hormuz, because nearly 1/3 of the world's oil trade passes through this narrow waterway. In other words, one of the main arteries of the global energy system runs through this single point. Now think about that for a moment. When risk appears in a place like this, it rarely stays a regional issue. It quickly becomes a global economic concern. And that is exactly what happened in the final months of 2026. The United States tightened sanctions targeting Iran's energy exports. Iran responded by signaling that oil shipments passing through the Strait of Hormuz could potentially be restricted. For financial markets, this was not just another headline, because in the oil market, an actual crisis doesn't always need to happen. Sometimes the possibility alone is enough to move prices, and that is exactly what we saw. Uncertainty began rising in energy markets. Investors started pricing in the possibility of supply disruptions. Oil prices moved higher, but rising oil prices do not only affect energy companies. In the modern economy, oil sits at the center of almost everything. Transportation costs depend on it. Global logistics depend on it. Even manufacturing costs are heavily influenced by energy prices. That is why large movements in oil markets often ripple across the entire global economy. And this is where another key player enters the story: the US dollar. For decades, the US dollar has served as the backbone of global trade. Its role in energy markets is especially powerful. Even today, the majority of global oil transactions are still priced and settled in US dollars. Because of that, developments in energy markets often influence currency markets as well. Another important factor is investor behavior. During times of global uncertainty, investors tend to move toward assets they perceive as safer. For many decades, the US dollar has been considered one of those safe havens. That is why geopolitical tensions often lead to stronger demand for dollars. But the global economic landscape is also slowly changing, and one of the biggest forces behind that change is China. China is one of the largest energy importers in the world. So when oil prices rise, the Chinese economy feels that pressure directly. At the same time, China has been working to reduce global dependence on the US dollar. In recent years, some international energy trade agreements have increasingly been settled in Chinese yuan. According to some economists, this trend could slowly reshape parts of the global financial system over the long term. However, in the short term, global crises still tend to push investors toward the dollar, and that often places downward pressure on currencies like the yuan during periods of geopolitical tension. What all of this shows is just how interconnected the modern global economy really is. A political conflict in the Middle East can affect oil prices. Oil prices can influence currency markets, and currency markets can reshape global trade flows. Sometimes the forces moving global markets are not economic reports or central bank decisions. Sometimes they are events happening thousands of miles away. Sometimes even the ships passing through a single strait can influence the direction of the global economy. So the real question becomes this: in the future, will the US dollar remain the dominant force in global trade? Or will currencies like China's yuan begin to play a larger role? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy global economic analysis like this, don't forget to subscribe for more.